Hey, welcome to The Witcher 3. Your host Drubert's here on a very fine sunny day here right outside the city of Novigrad, which is the main large city in The Witcher 3. There are actually a couple of different continents. There's a whole continent that I have not even been to yet. I'm currently sitting at, I think, like 40 hours into the game. I'm level 17. And there's a whole other continent area that I have not even explored yet. So that kind of tells you just how large of a game this thing is going to be. I think that there is no actual level cap, although most of the high-level gear and quests that I've seen kind of centers around a level 30. So if I'm level 17, maybe I'm a little bit over halfway through what is kind of considered to be the primary game. And at 40 hours, halfway through, I would say that's a pretty admirable length for a game, especially when Call of Duty takes you 5 hours to play through. So I can't remember how much of The Witcher 2 you played. I'm going to assume none of The Witcher 1 and not very much of Witcher 2. And the story is pretty confusing, probably, if you've never played any of the Witcher games. Even having played a little bit of Witcher 1 myself and through Witcher 2, the story is still pretty confusing to me too. And really, it kind of sucks not really knowing what anyone's talking about or what all the relationships are, unless you really want to go through the glossary and read all the nonsense that is contained in that. Then you could probably, you could get a better understanding of how things work.
Now we wait for him to scurry away.
Interesting method. Never had much luck with rats. Once I hit one with a fork in complete darkness, trying to show off my Witcher's senses. Masterful throw, really. Problem was, no one else saw it. How could they in the dark?
So, what do you think? Rat catcher? It's a long way to fall from being advisor to Temeria's king.
I'm just glad to see you safe and sound, and...
reconciled?
But not knowing the story, I guess, isn't really a deal breaker. The basics of it are you exist in a universe where it kind of melded dimensions with another universe, and you ended up getting all kinds of spirits and ghouls and undead things and all kinds of nasty stuff. Witchers are hunters of all the nasty things. They've been genetically mutated, they're sterile, but they also have increased senses, reflexes, the ability to take potions that would kill normal humans, and all kinds of fun stuff like that. And you are on the hunt for a girl, she's now pretty much a pretty smoking hot woman, named Ciri. And, it's over here. What up, fellas? You want a piece of this? Want a piece of that? Bring it. So we can get a little idea of what goes on in Witcher combat. These guys are a few levels below me, so shouldn't be too much of a problem. We just kind of show off how combat kind of works. There are two different kinds of lock-on modes. You can do a hard lock-on, which you can see now I'm hard lock-on with this guy. Or you sort of do a soft lock, where he kind of, he'll sort of swing in a smart fashion to kill people. You have light attacks and strong attacks. You also saw me doing quite a bit of dodging there. You have a dodge and also a roll. The roll, as you can see, gets you a lot further away from the target, which when you're fighting things that have more of a reach, like some of the larger elementals, dragons, things like that, doing a roll may be a good tactic. But what rolling does is uses up your stamina, and your stamina is what you use to cast magic spells. And if I bring up the radial wheel here, I have on top are my magic spells that I can cast. This one is a trap type spell, which is really useful and almost necessary against some of the enemies in the game. Quinn is a shield, which you use a lot of Quinn going on. So if I cast Quinn and he hits me, if he can, because he's a loser, it doesn't do any damage to me. It will just make the shield go away. And you can enhance the thing, so if I hold Quinn down, I actually make a bubble, and as he hits me, I actually regain health from that. But what I was saying was, so in order to cast spells, you need to have stamina. So let's switch over to Axie, which is like a mind control type of thing. And if you look on the upper left, there's a red bar, which is my health, and then there's a yellow bar, which is my stamina. If I cast Axie on this guy, it completely drains my yellow bar, and it slowly refills. Now, the rate at which that refills is determined by a lot of factors, one of which is the kind of armor you wear. There's light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor. The lighter your armor, the faster your stamina will refill. And that can also be affected by potions and abilities and things like that. There are light attacks and heavy attacks. I can't remember if I already said that. I might have. There's not a huge difference between light and heavy. It's probably, the light attacks are only slightly faster, but it's not like something like Dark Souls, where your heavy attacks really are, like, they take considerably longer to cast, and they do considerably more damage. It's much more of a kind of nuanced difference, which sort of makes it unnecessary to really choose which one you're going to use. In addition to dodging and rolling, Geralt can also parry. So I can just sit here and, with you're only facing one opponent, and he's using only his sword, you can pretty much just parry all day, all of his attacks. When you start having multiple opponents, or they start having weapons that are large, heavy weapons, they can knock you down from your parry, and then that starts getting you in trouble. You can also time your parry. You can see that when he attacks, his little bar there grows red. So if I time my parry with when he grows red, I can stagger him and then open him up for a counterattack. This guy's a little bit tougher. Got a shield, he's the leader. And I just kind of cleaved him in twine, which is fun. And there's not a lot of flexibility as far as combat in the game. I mean, it's a more story-driven game. You play as Geralt. Geralt has a set number of abilities, determined by the lore of the game, basically. So you're basically limited to these abilities, which I didn't do any of the telekinetic blasting. You can push guys on their ass with the telekinetic blast and then go up and finish them in one hit. The Influence Mind, there's an Igni one, which is fire-based one, and that can be particularly effective against certain types of enemies. The shield, and then the trap, which we talked about, which is pretty much necessary to defeat certain types of enemies that can phase in and out of the world. If you get them in the trap, then they essentially get stuck in place, and you can more easily attack them. Now, Roach has ran off, lost him somewhere in the fray, so but just like Red Dead, I can pretty much call him from any place, and he'll show up, and we'll just jump on him. Also, like Red Dead, Roach at least kind of sort of attempts to follow the road if you don't give him any direction. He can also sprint, and when he's on a road, it doesn't use up his stamina. Stamina will stay full. If you go off-roading, then his stamina will start to go down. He's not the best, he's not the smartest horse in the world always. He likes to get stuck on things and just stop for no apparent reason. He just decides, especially when you're going through towns, it's like, oh, there's a door, like a gateway We're gonna have to just stop for no apparent reason, even though you're just holding the button to tell me to go. Which leads to probably the biggest complaint of the game is just sort of the overall movement controls are just clunky, and they don't feel, you know, really, really excellent. It's hard to maneuver. In combat, is not as big of a deal, but just getting from A to B can be a real pain in the ass when Roach doesn't cooperate, and Geralt's like, you know, falling all over himself. It just causes all kinds of issues. It is a massive game world, though. I can bring up the map here and show you. We've pretty much just been hanging around this area right here. This is the major city up in this place. And all of this is all accessible. You can go to all these different places. So you can see we went kind of past the windmill and just over here. All these things all down here. How much of all the little question marks that I have not explored? They could be monster nests or more bandit camps. They could be treasure that's guarded by, you know, high-level monsters. They could be quest opportunities. They could be caves that you can explore and find things. So just all sorts of different little things that are all over. And this is, like I said, just one of the continents. You start off in this place, White Orchard, which is a considerably smaller area, but still, it's a good training ground for you to sort of go around and figure out what to do. And you can see I've actually pretty much 100% cleared out all of this area. Done all the little things. If they're grayed out, that means that I've done them. The Royal Palace here is just kind of a place you go for a mission. Doesn't really count. And then this is the continent that I haven't actually been to, the Skellig Isles. So this is a whole nother area that I haven't even visited yet. And I actually have several quests that are sending me in that direction, but I keep waiting around to do it at some point. Speaking of quests, here's the quest screen. And you can see it splits it up into main quests, secondary quests, which are all leveled, and Witcher contracts, which are pretty fun little things that involve usually a bit of investigation, talking to witnesses, figuring out, oops, didn't want to do that yet, figuring out what kind of enemy you're going against, preparing to go against that enemy, and then taking them down, taking their trophy, and then getting your reward. Treasure hunts are about finding, there are 3 different schools of gear. I guess there are more than 3 Witcher schools, but in the game only 3 of them have gear associated with them. Griffin, Cat, and Bear. I'm working mostly in the Griffin school stuff, which is the medium kind of armor, kind of a well-balanced sort of thing. Eventually, though, I like to get the Bear armor just because it looks cooler. But that's more of the tank kind of, less relies on magic, more relies just on pure combat, which is pretty much what I'm doing anyway. So the quest screen is okay. It's a little hard to, you know, a lot of things about these menus, I just wish there was more availability to organize things. Like, I would like to just organize these by level, so I can just see which ones I'm falling behind on, which ones I need to do. Just give me them, you know, in order of level or something like that, or show them all on the map so I can see, okay, well, I'm in this area, which quests are in this area that I can do? There's no way for me to do that. It only shows indicators for the quests that you currently have active, and there's no way to, you know, you can go and turn on a different quest, let's say this one, and actually that one's probably not a good one to do because I don't think it'll show me anything because it's over in a different area. So let's try, instead we'll do a Witcher contract. So I turn on that one, and now if I go over to the map, it will show me where that one is. And there is a way to quick jump to the to your current position or to the objective, which is nice. But there's no way to just see, you know, okay, where are the objectives at? Which one's closest? How can I get to it? Which is a little bit disappointing. And it also always wants to, like, as soon as I finish a quest, it always jumps to, like, the first main quest. Like, it just goes back to this one. And so you have to go in, and there's no real organization or logical flow to the way the questing goes, which is kind of irritating. This is your character screen, which has all of your abilities and stuff. So this was what I was talking about when I was saying that you can only have certain abilities active at any given time. All of these are locked spots that I can't put abilities. So you end up purchasing combat abilities, or see, there's signs, alchemy, specific abilities, which I have none, general kind of abilities, and then these are mutagens, which we'll get into in a minute. So you put points into different abilities, which all have different things. Mostly, I'm going to say, to be honest, most of them are passive. There's not a lot of active things. There are some things, like I showed you that Quinn bubble that I can make. Instead of making a shield around myself, I can just make the entire bubble around myself. So that's an active ability example. But for the most part, it's mostly passive things, which is also kind of disappointing. So what you do is you choose an ability, and then it goes into one of the slots, and you can only have, you start off with 3, and then as you level up, you'll be able to open up additional slots. This one will open for me at 18. I think it's every 2 or so. 22, I think at 20, well, maybe it's every 4. I don't know. So 18, 22, 26, 28, I'll get that one, and then 30. It also opens up these mutagen slots. So mutagens are things that you typically get dropped from monsters, and they will increase your abilities depending on what color they are. So this one is red, is kind of a combat mutagen. It gives you more attack power. Blue is a sign mutagen, gives you more intensity. And then green is a, I guess potions, but not really. It just gives you increased vitality. So what happens is, if you line up the mutagen with the color of your skills, then you get additional bonuses on top of that. So let's say if I were to put a general skill, so you can see here I have an increased attack power of 28% due to that, the way I have that set up. If I go over here and I put this general spell into one of these slots, I now go down to only a 21% increase, because it wants you to line up the mutagens with their corresponding skills. As far as I know, there are no yellow mutagens, so they kind of have their thing on their own. So it sort of somewhat kind of a little bit forces you to, I guess it doesn't really, you have to kind of pre-think all these things through. Like, what do you want to do? Do I want to, if I want to have more than 3 combat skills, does that mean I needed to devote another of these things? If I'm going to have 4, then should I go ahead and have 6? Because I'm going to put it with a red mutagen, and for them all to get the max benefit, I need to have the entire block be that same color. If I'm going to use a green mutagen over here, then should I go ahead and try and get 3 alchemy skills? Or should I just, load up one thing and, not worry about anything else? It's kind of a weird system. And there is a method to respec. It costs you like 1,000 crowns or whatever. So it is possible to respec, which is nice. But it's just kind of a goofy system. You're going to end up having to put points into things. Like if I want to go any further down the line, I'm going to end up putting points into things that I'm never going to use. I have to put some points into some of these things that I don't really want, so that I can open up the ability to go down to the next tier. And I may not ever use any of those, but I have to put the points in there in order to just move down the line. It's a little bit strange, a little bit tricky. I didn't really understand it at first, but if you don't have any of your skills in one of these boxes, then you are getting no benefit from them. So just keep that in mind when you play, and it sort of changes the way that you think about it, and maybe makes respecking more of a necessity down the line. You sort of build yourself in a way that is good at lower levels, more all around, but then as you get higher levels, you can sort of more get more specific, more focused on a certain ability or a different whatever. Let's see, don't care about that. The bestiary is one of your most useful things. You can get entries in the bestiary by killing the animal. Usually unlocks their, or killing the creature or whatever, usually unlocks their bestiary information. There's the undead fetus thing that's really gross. And the bestiary tells you what kind of things would be vulnerable against. I think this is a particular kind of werewolf, but there are just werewolves in general. So the different kind of bombs that there are useful against them for various reasons, and also different oils you can afford and different signs that will be effective against them. So any kind that you know that you're going up against a certain kind of enemy, it's always useful to kind of check the bestiary and see what was useful against this particular kind of creature. And it can really help, especially on like higher difficulty levels, help to survive. It's pretty neat. I like it. And there's kind of your people that you've met, their story, things like that. Crafting is interesting. And just recently, actually, they have... So one cool thing about CD Projekt Red is that they will really listen to the community. And they're a PC... they've always been a PC-focused developer. So this is an option that used to not be there. If I press in the left stick, I can get filters. So now I can get rid of some of the things. At game launch, this was not a feature. So I only want to see the things that I can make. So I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I only want to see the things that I can make. And it limits it down to only the things that are craftable. Let's say you can do the same thing on the alchemy tab. So let's see, I only want to see the things that I can make again and that I haven't already made. Oops. Where am I at here? So I only want to see the things that I can make, and I don't want to see things that I've already made. And there you have all the things like so. One thing about the bombs and the decoctions and all the crafting stuff in alchemy that's really neat is that once you make it once, so I'll go ahead and make this Dragon's Dream bomb, I never have to make that again. I'm now done with it. I haven't made a lot of these because they cost mutagens, and you can combine mutagens to make more powerful mutagens, so I've sort of been hesitant to make those. And these potions, I'm not really a big potion taker anyway. Some of these sound like they kind of have cool effects, but they're going to increase your toxicity up to 100%. And that's another thing that's always been in the Witcher games, is as you take potions, you increase toxicity. And once you reach over 100% toxicity, you'll start to lose health. So it's important that you take potions mid-fight, but if you exceed your toxicity level, then you're going to end up hurting yourself. So it's a balancing match of popping potions, but not going overboard because that will hurt you. The crafting sort of leads into the inventory section, which is a weight-based inventory thing. All these things, everything has a certain amount of weight. It does give you nice measurements as far as your DPS and how it compares your armor-wise, what you're going to gain, what you're going to lose. Also resistances and things like that. But everything has some degree of weight, even if you go over to chicken legs or whatever this is, or roasted chicken leg. I have 6 of them. They apparently all weigh 1/100th of a pound. So they're all adding weight onto my personages. And that gets even worse when you go over to like the alchemy and crafting screen, because this just has a ton of all kinds of different things that is really hard to keep track of. And there's so many different little ingredients, and then you can take these and you can go to blacksmiths or armor smiths, and they can break them down into even further constituent parts. So let's say that I have over here, where am I at? In my junk drawer, I have like this emerald ring, and I need an emerald in order to craft something. I can go over to a blacksmith, and he'll charge me a small fee, and he'll break this down into, say, some silver dust and an emerald. Instead of a silver ring, now I have silver dust and I have an emerald. So I can then use that to craft something if I have a sword or something that requires to have an emerald. But it's all not organized at all, and like there's no way to really figure out what you have, what you don't have, or how to get things that maybe you need to get. It's just kind of a mess. And it's nice that they added the ability to sort of limit down these things. But like, let's see if I can find something here that I care to even want to make. It's probably better to look at alchemy if I actually want to find something that I might want to make. So I wonder what kind of... Oh my gosh, there's so many. So I have to make this oil to fight dragons, I have to find ergot seeds. I have no idea where to find ergot seeds. I don't even know what an ergot seed is. And there's really no way for me to figure that out, apart from just, Googling it or something. I could maybe buy it from a vendor or something, but who knows? And that's another thing to mention as far as this world. It takes place whether you're really there or not, which is kind of an interesting thing. Like, you can just sort of be exploring and stumble upon, some kind of large beast, and you decide to kill it just because that's what you do if you're a witcher. And you kill it, and you get a trophy off of it, and then you go into town nearby, and it turns out that, unbeknownst to you, there was actually a price on that particular beast's head. And you can just say, oh, hey, well, I already did that, so why don't you go ahead and just give me my money? And it'll work. That's fine. That's perfectly acceptable for that to happen. What's going on up here? Just a patrol. Additionally, there are, if you can fail quests or lose items by the actions that you take. It's kind of hard to tell. I mean, I have failed a couple of quests just because I guess I didn't pay attention to the order that I should do things in. So I sort of progressed further in one line than I should have, and that caused me to be unable to complete another line that I was working on, and it just said failed. So there you go. It's kind of popping in around here. Kind of a weird. Usually don't experience that kind of a pop in. There's also the chance that I may have possibly, ruined my ability to purchase some alchemy recipes. There's a character in the story, kind of a main character, who you encounter fairly early on. And in addition to being a character in the story, you can also buy alchemical reagents and recipes from them. And eventually, the story takes place that this person is no longer available to you. And they sell some things that could be potentially pretty useful. So I did not buy them from that person. So does that mean that they're gone? Possibly. I'm not really sure. Oops, that's not the button I wanted. So let's see. These things are... what are those things? I know that those things are. But I have to check my bestiary to make sure. I just saw them a minute ago. They're... rot fiends, which are vulnerable only to necrophage oil. So, I know I'm about to fight some of them, I'll go over to my inventory, and I'm pretty sure I have necrophage oil. I do. So I'll apply that to my silver sword. And as you can see, the way oils work, they have sort of a number of uses, and also an increase to attack power. So this has 25% attack power. I guess it doesn't tell you the number of uses, but I think for the enhanced, it's like 40. And for the regular oil, it's like 25. And then there are other levels above enhanced as well. There's levels of everything. And you have to have like the original level before you can make the enhanced. And that goes with armor sets, weapon sets, alchemy, potions, bombs, oils, all that kind of stuff. So I've applied my oil. I'm going to go ahead and throw on a shield, because I know I'm going to probably need it. And there's nothing else really to use against these guys, so I may just, maybe I'll hit them with an art blast.
What now, you...
Get out of here. And you see I knocked him down so I can instantly finish him. The thing about rot fiends is that they explode when they die, so you have to be careful about that. Now, you do have two different swords. That's another part of, like, the kind of Witcher mythology or whatever. Silver for monsters, and just regular steel for... Oh, get out of there. For other humans. Oh, hey there, slimy things. So I've killed all the rot fiends. Now I can destroy their nests. And usually there's some kind of other... Oh, a devourer came out. Whatever a devourer is. No, he's on fire. That's what he is. Come here, guy. Ah, take crossbow. Come on. You want some? Come get some. He kind of got me. That's alright. I'll just put the shield on myself again. Do you explode? I guess you don't explode. Oh, he poisons me. It's alright. Put the shield back on. You won't hurt me. I'll be fine. So, now I should be able to loot the nest. And there's, glyphs that you can put into sword and rune or swords and armor to enhance them. All kinds of fun stuff. Yay for the loots. Lots of loots. Lots of looting, all kinds of things all over the place. Get used to pressing A and Y. A to open up the loot. Y to just loot everything. Let's see. So another major feature of the game is Geralt's Witcher senses. He has the ability to... It's basically your Batman vision. So you can see there's a barrel that explodes. He can see all kinds of things that are available to loot, like I didn't get a bag over here. All of those things that are glowing you could loot. He also uses it a lot for the Witcher contracts. He'll typically follow footprints, or he'll follow scents. He'll investigate bodies or markings and all kinds of things to gather information.
Take it easy.
And or track down his target. Now that's a red guy. I wonder why he's red. That could mean that he's part of some sort of quest. Maybe I can start a quest by investigating him. So he's got some trader notes on him. So let's see what the notes say, if they're anything important. Contains useful information. Typically, you don't actually have to read all this stuff. A lot of times, just looking at it, and if there's anything that it'll give you as far as a map pointer or anything, then it will give it to you. Not always, but most of the time, if I look at it and it doesn't give me a point on the map, then no one's got time to read all that stuff. I just move on. Let's see. What have we covered? We've covered most things. It's a very different kind of game, just in the way that it combat plays out. It emphasizes a lot less the sort of pre-preparation than the previous games, where you couldn't take any potions mid-fight. You had to just do everything pre-fight, and if you got into a fight unprepared, well, you're probably going to die. It is pretty unforgiving. I mean, it will... come on, Roach. What, is that... You can't go across that? We'll just swim it out. No big deal. Witchers can swim. In fact, they can swim underwater. Oh. Look at that. There's a plant over here. Loot it. And even though Roach apparently is unable to swim across there, don't worry. I'll just whistle for him, and as if by magic, he's made it across the pond. No big deal. So let's see. There's a whole lot of stuff that I'm sure I haven't covered. It's a really huge game. Really, just tons and tons of stuff to do. Tons and tons of places to go. People to see. People to talk to. The questing is really interesting because everything is a story. You're always talking to people. You're always interacting with characters in order to get information. Nothing is ever just usually nothing is just you find a letter and then you're just go loot 10 necker brains and bring them back. Everything is much more involved than that. More story focused, more intriguing. There are decisions that are difficult to make that you don't know. There is no right or wrong. You don't know how it's going to work out in the end. Who's going to get hurt? Who's going to profit? You can fight on your horse, but it's like freaking insanely hard. For one thing, the horse becomes afraid, and if it gets too afraid, it will boot you off. It's kind of interestingly, there are blinders that you can loot or purchase for your horse that will decrease the level at which Roach, I guess they're always named Roach, it will decrease the speed at which he becomes afraid. You can get saddles for the horse that increase how much stamina he has. You can get... what else can you get for the horse? There's something else. Oh, saddlebags that increase the maximum weight of things that you can carry. So there's just a lot of depth to the game. A lot of things always going on. I haven't even begun to scratch the surface. All I'm going to say is, damn fine game, and highly suggest you pick it up. I don't know why things are popping in like that. That does not normally happen. Anyway, I've probably rambled on long enough. Drowners. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.